When I got promoted, my jealous neighbor faked emails saying I was stealing company files, then used a burner Twitter to anonymously expose me, got suspended, humiliated, and she just smirked. So I printed the IP logs and took them straight to HR. When HR called me into that sterile little office on the third floor, I thought it was about the new project proposal I'd sent out the night before. I'd just gotten promoted to senior analyst 2 weeks earlier, and honestly, I was still floating. But the look on my manager's face, tight smile, eyes not meeting mine, made my stomach drop before she even spoke. "Eli, we received some troubling emails." The next words blurred together: corporate theft, confidential files, anonymous proof. Then they showed me screenshots, emails I had apparently sent to a competitor, and a Twitter account called @InsiderLeaks posting blurred-out documents stamped with my initials. My name, my work folder. My damn formatting. HR said they had to suspend me pending investigation. Just like that, my promotion became a humiliation. Everyone on my team found out within hours. Some didn't meet my eyes in the hall. Some did and looked disappointed. When I walked back to my apartment that night, I kept replaying everything. Who could have done this? I worked late. I kept to myself. I was always polite, careful. Then I saw her. Nina, my neighbor from 4B, standing outside her door, watering her plants with that stupid glass spray bottle she always carried around. She smiled like she was watching a show, only she understood. "Rough day?" she asked, voice light but sharp. I didn't answer. She smirked. "Some people just can't handle success, huh?" I froze. I'd told her about my promotion last week, just in passing in the laundry room. She'd smiled, said good for you, but her tone had that soft edge people get when they're faking it. That night, I couldn't sleep. My laptop stayed open beside me, the HR email blinking like an accusation. But I noticed something. The Twitter posts, they weren't as anonymous as they seemed. The account had been made the same day Nina's Wi-Fi dropped for hours. By morning, I was in full investigator mode. I wasn't stupid. I worked in data analytics. I knew how to trace IPs. And when I did, the location pinged half a block from my building. Then it narrowed. Apartment 4B. Nina. I stared at the screen until sunrise, heart thudding so loud I thought it'd wake the whole floor. I didn't confront her right away. No. I printed everything. Every ping. Every timestamp. Every burner email header. And when the suspension turned into whispers about possible termination, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Because Nina hadn't just messed with my job. She'd gone after my life. So I started printing the entire log. When I first met Nina, I actually liked her. She moved into 4B about a year after me, right around the time my old neighbor, Mrs. Gomez, passed away. Nina showed up with her boxes, her cat, and a bottle of cheap rosé she offered like it was some peace treaty between new tenants. She was charming at first, talked fast, laughed loud, and always seemed to know everyone's business within a week of moving in. She'd wave at the delivery guys, gossip with the building manager, and somehow remember every tenant's schedule. I figured she was just friendly, maybe a little too friendly, but harmless. We'd bump into each other in the hallway, and she'd say stuff like, "Still working late, huh?" Or "Saw your lights on at 2 a.m. again." Creepy, but whatever, it was a small building. Then came the little favors. She'd ask to borrow things constantly: sugar, dish soap, printer ink, even my screwdriver set. If I hesitated, she'd flash that smile like I was the one being weird. Once, she knocked at midnight asking if she could just print one thing real quick. That one thing turned into 6 pages, all printed on my Wi-Fi network. Looking back, I think that's when she first started digging. I remember one time I got home from work, and she was sitting on the front steps scrolling through her phone, smirking. She said, "So, senior analyst now, huh? Guess that means you're the boss of some people." She said it like it was a bad thing. After that, the vibe shifted. The small talk stopped. She'd give these little comments that stung more than they should have. "Must be nice getting everything handed to you. You're lucky, some people have to actually fight for what they get." Or my favorite, "You work in data, right? That means you have access to a lot of stuff." I should have trusted my gut. About a month before my promotion, Nina started complaining about losing her job at some marketing firm downtown. She said they did her dirty, that her boss took credit for her work. I listened, tried to be sympathetic, but she had this bitterness that sat under her words like poison. When I told her I got promoted, She just stared for a second too long before smiling. Wow. Already, I laughed it off, but it hit me later that she never congratulated me again after that. Not once. Then, little things started happening. My mail went missing. My car got keyed, nothing major, just enough to notice. Someone buzzed my intercom at 3 a.m. and hung up. Twice. I remember telling a coworker, half joking, "I think my neighbor hates me." Turns out she didn't just hate me. She envied me, enough to risk everything. But I wouldn't know that until I traced that IP address right back to her apartment and realized she'd been using my own Wi-Fi printer months ago to run test pages with fake company headers. I'd saved one of those pages, thinking she'd just printed by mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was a trial run. Once I saw that IP address matched her apartment, something inside me flipped. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was obsessed. Every free minute I had during my suspension went into building a case against her. I created folders, screenshots, a whole damn wall of printouts taped over my kitchen counter like something out of a crime show. At first, I told myself it was to prove my innocence to HR. But after a few nights staring at that glowing screen and hearing her laugh through the wall, I realized I wanted more than that. I wanted her to know I knew. The timing lined up too perfectly. Nina's Wi-Fi dropped on the same night the first fake email was sent to my boss. The burner Twitter account posted screenshots right after that. The IP logs didn't lie. Then I remembered something weird from a few weeks earlier. One morning, before my promotion, I'd found a flash drive wedged in my front door frame. Just a plain black USB. I assumed someone dropped it. I tossed it in my desk drawer and forgot about it. When I plugged it in now, my stomach turned. It was full of company files, real ones. Some I recognized, some I didn't. The modified date from my work laptop. But the access location, different network, Nina's. I realized what she'd done. She must have copied those files off my shared Wi-Fi printer or cloud sync folder when she was borrowing it months ago. She'd made copies, probably waiting for the right time to drop them. That's when I started digging deeper into her online footprint. I found her old accounts from before she moved, same typing style, same phrasing. She'd done something like this before, accused an ex-coworker of data theft, got them fired, then disappeared. I started documenting everything. Dates, logs, IP pings, screenshots of her burner tweets. I even found the Gmail account used to send the anonymous tips to my boss. It was linked to a recovery phone number that ended with the same 4 digits she once gave me in case of emergencies. She wasn't even careful. She thought she was smarter than me. Then came the moment that really cemented it. I was coming home from grabbing groceries when I saw her through her window. She was sitting at her desk, typing fast, music low. Her blinds were open just enough for me to see her screen flash with that same Twitter handle, @InsiderLeaks. I froze. My blood went cold. I took a photo through the gap. It was blurry, but the username was visible. Later that night, she knocked on my door, said she'd heard HR called again, asked if I was okay. I kept my face neutral. "Yeah, just some misunderstanding." She smiled, all teeth. "Well, if you need someone to talk to." Then she leaned in slightly and whispered, "You'd be surprised how easily people believe a good story online." And walked away. That was when I realized this wasn't just about envy. She wanted to destroy me, and she wanted to watch it happen. So I made a decision that night. I wouldn't confront her yet. Not until I had her cornered. Not until she couldn't deny a thing. But I didn't know then what was coming next. The first big reveal that would make everything even darker. The investigation was dragging on. HR had gone radio silent, and my manager, who used to copy me on everything, was suddenly distant. I felt like a ghost walking through my own career. I kept telling myself, just hold on. Once they see the evidence, I'll be fine. But one morning, I got an email from HR that made my stomach twist. "Eli, due to ongoing concerns regarding company data exposure, we have escalated the matter to corporate compliance. Your access to internal systems remains revoked until further notice." Then, attached at the bottom, was something strange. A scanned, anonymous complaint supposedly sent to HR months earlier, before any of this blew up. It accused me of being untrustworthy, careless with confidential files, and potentially colluding with competitors. The kicker. It was signed, "Concerned Employee." except the signature line was pixelated, and when I enhanced the metadata, I saw who had created the PDF. Nina Ramos PDF. My hands shook. How the hell was her name showing up on an HR document? I started going through the emails I'd printed, comparing timestamps and headers. That's when I found something that made me physically dizzy. The earliest fake email from me was sent from inside the company network, not externally. Someone had used internal credentials. Mine, and I remembered. 2 months ago, Nina had told me she was freelancing for a company downtown. I never asked which one. I just assumed it was marketing work again. But when I checked the IP logs, one of the corporate addresses tied to those emails matched the range for my own company's remote contractor portal. Nina wasn't just some bitter neighbor. She'd gotten herself hired as a temp in my company. She'd used her short-term login access to plant the fake evidence inside the system so it would look more authentic. That's why HR believed it. That's why the emails looked internal. She'd built the perfect setup, step by step, while pretending to borrow sugar and ask about my cat. But the part that hit hardest wasn't even the betrayal. It was the detail I saw when I dug deeper into her file. The company had hired her under her maiden name. And when I looked up that name in our employee database, I found something that made everything click. 2 years ago, she'd applied for the same position I had, the one I eventually got. She'd made it to the final interview round but lost out. To me, I sat there staring at the HR timestamp of her rejection email, then at the date she moved into my building, 3 months later. She hadn't just been a random neighbor. She'd moved into my building on purpose, to get close, to watch, to wait for a way to ruin me. All those coincidences, her friendly chats, her job talk, her fake sympathy, it was all part of her setup. She'd been planning this for nearly a year. I remember looking at my reflection in the dark window, whispering out loud, "She played me." But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. Because if she thought she could weaponize my career against me, she hadn't seen what I could do with truth, timing, and proof. Once I knew Nina had infiltrated my company under a fake name, everything snapped into focus. She wasn't impulsive, she was strategic. Cold, calculated, and if I wanted to destroy her lies, I'd have to be the same way. First, I stopped reacting. No more pacing the apartment, no more angry drafts to HR. I went quiet. I acted defeated. It worked. She relaxed. She started humming in the hallway again, even made a show of telling me she was applying for new jobs, like she'd already forgotten I existed. But I was working behind the scenes. The one thing Nina underestimated, I was an analyst. My job was literally to detect patterns and anomalies, and I had access to every technical trace she'd left behind. So I started collecting data the same way she had, but smarter. I installed a simple Wi-Fi logging tool that tracked all outgoing connections from my network. Then, I set up a honeypot folder, a fake, confidential files directory synced to a dummy account. I labeled it with my company's internal tags, something like quarterly reports private. Within 2 days, someone accessed it. Guess from where? Apartment 4B at 3:12 a.m. That was all I needed. I took screenshots, timestamp logs, and a copy of the IP address. Then I packaged everything in a single encrypted folder and sent it, not to HR, but to corporate compliance directly, along with a short note. Please review this in light of the ongoing investigation. You've been looking at the wrong suspect. Meanwhile, I set the real trap. I printed one single page, just one, and slid it under her door. It said, "The truth always leaves a digital fingerprint." Nothing else. No name, no threat, just that line. That same night, I heard her pacing. Her footsteps back and forth across her floor until nearly 4 a.m. Then something interesting happened. The burner Twitter account that had been dormant suddenly deleted every post. Wiped clean. I waited 2 days before taking the next step. I set up a fake Gmail under a new alias and sent her an email from it. "I know what you did. If you don't come clean, the company will find out before you can run again." 20 minutes later, I saw her door open through the peephole. She stood there, barefoot, clutching her phone, scanning the hallway. She looked terrified. By morning, I received a response from corporate compliance. They'd reopened the case. Then, later that afternoon, I got another email, this time from Nina's contractor supervisor. She'd resigned effective immediately. But here's the thing. She didn't leave town. She stayed. and for a few days the building went silent. No music, no humming, no late-night footsteps. Until one night I caught her slipping a manila envelope into my mailbox. No return address, just my name, inside. A printed sheet of company letterhead, with my fake honeypot files attached, and a handwritten note scrawled across the top. I wasn't the only one. That one line changed everything. Because she wasn't just framing me for revenge, she'd been working with someone. Someone inside the company. The note in that envelope didn't just rattle me, it cracked open the whole story. I wasn't the only one. At first, I thought she was bluffing, trying to twist me up one last time before skipping town. But the more I stared at that line, the more it didn't feel like taunting. It felt like a warning. I went back through all the email headers she'd forged, and something caught my eye. One of the fake messages she'd sent from my address to the competitor didn't go straight out to a public server. It bounced through an internal relay first, one that wasn't supposed to process external mail. Someone on the inside had rerouted it. That couldn't have been her alone. I cross-checked timestamps again, comparing them to employee logins on our shared server. A single name kept popping up within 5 minutes of each forged email. Daniel Brooks, my old team lead. The same guy who'd written my promotion recommendation. I felt sick. I'd looked up to Daniel. He'd mentored me for 2 years, talked about grooming me for leadership. But after my promotion, things got awkward between us. He'd started making jokes about the kid replacing the vet. At the time, I brushed it off as pride. Now I knew it was resentment. I dug deeper. Daniel had been the one who originally interviewed Nina 2 years ago. His signature was on her rejection form. When she moved into my building, he'd already been in contact with her through a freelance data cleanup project. He'd helped her get hired as a temp under her maiden name. They'd set me up together. She was the executioner. He was the insider feeding her just enough access to make it look real. That's why the emails had internal metadata. That's why HR didn't question it. Daniel had vouched for their authenticity. I remember sitting on my couch that night, lights off, the only glow coming from my laptop screen as I whispered, "You son of a bitch." It all made sense now, his fake concern when I was suspended, the way he told me to be patient and let the system work. He was buying time to bury me completely. But the note from Nina meant something else too. She'd turned on him. She was scared. And scared people make mistakes. I waited 2 days, tracking every move she made online. Her social accounts went private, her LinkedIn disappeared, and then, finally, an unlisted YouTube link popped up from a brand new channel. The title, "For Eli." My hands shook as I clicked play. It was a screen recording her desktop. She was showing emails between her and Daniel. She had his voice in a recorded call saying, "Make it look like his IP. I'll confirm it internally." He'd given her my network logs. She ended the video with her face on camera, eyes rimmed red. "You're not the only one he used. I just wanted to win. He wanted you gone." Then the screen went black. I sat there, staring. Nina had been my enemy, but Daniel, the man I trusted, had been the architect. Now I had everything I needed to bring both of them down. I just had to decide how. I thought at first the motive was simple: jealousy, a neighbor who couldn't stand someone else climbing. That would have been ugly enough. But what I found in the videos and the calls made me understand something darker. This wasn't just about envy. This was a cover-up, a business decision dressed up as cruelty. Nina's confession video ended with a call recording she'd been too scared to send until she'd been threatened. In it, Daniel's voice is flat, almost bored. He says, "You do X, I do Y. When it explodes, we point to whoever's most visible. The company will eat that person alive and move on. We've got buyers waiting. The heat goes to them, not us." Buyers' heat. Those words hit me like a punch. Daniel wasn't protecting a portfolio or saving his job, he was selling our work. Client lists, campaign strategies, contact pipelines, stuff that looked boring in a spreadsheet but could be worth a small fortune to a competitor. He'd been funneling it out as cleanup projects, using temps like Nina to access off-network folders and then moving the data through burner accounts. All while keeping his hands just clean enough to deny. Why frame me? Because I was the one who pushed for stricter access monitoring last quarter. I'd sent a memo, small, technical, about tightening remote contractor permissions. I didn't think it was a big deal. Daniel did. My memo made his life harder. So he promoted me to quiet me, appeared magnanimous. Then set the whole thing up so when the leak happened it pointed squarely at me. Public face, a jealous junior with a motive. Private reality, a smokescreen for a data brokerage. When I heard that recording the first time, I sat on the floor and laughed once, one short, insane laugh, because the cruelty of it was surgical. He'd thought through contingencies. Who would be the fall guy, how to make the evidence internal, how to time the Twitter leaks so HR would panic. He'd mapped my personality and used it against me. He'd known exactly how to get me suspended and humiliated. Nina's tears in the video were real, but not entirely of remorse. She admitted she'd liked watching at first. "There's something intoxicating about being the puppet master," she said, and that's what made the whole thing worse. She wasn't just a pawn. She'd been a performer, enjoying the chaos until the scale of what they were doing hit her. Then fear replaced glee. Fear of the buyers finding her name, fear of prison, fear of being the one left holding the bag. And that, cold and clinical, is why they did it. Not because of my promotion alone, but because removing me cleared several lanes. It allowed Daniel to reroute audits, to shift blame internally, to sell another batch of client lists without anyone piecing together the timeline. It bought him time to launder the next transfer, time to recruit another temp, time to build plausible deniability. The part that actually made my blood run cold was what Nina said near the end of her confession. "He told me not to worry if one person got hurt. People are expendable," he said. "You'll be fine if you stay quiet." That line changed everything. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a business plan. A calculated, repeated operation with a hierarchy and customers. And because it was a plan, not a mistake, it meant there were more layers. More people who knew, more channels, and probably someone in compliance who got paid a cut. I realized then why corporate had been so slow. Why HR had looked at me like a problem to manage. They weren't just covering a single false email, they were trying to bury a network. So the question wasn't just how to clear my name anymore. It was how to blow the whole thing wide open without getting crushed under the machine they'd built. And that's when I understood the last, sickening part. I wasn't the only target they'd lined up. I was the first. I didn't sleep the night I finished watching Nina's video. My brain just looped through every moment Daniel had ever stood over my desk, pretending to mentor me, and every fake smile Nina had flashed in the hallway while plotting behind that perfect, friendly mask. By sunrise, I had a plan. I knew I couldn't go back through HR. They were already compromised. Compliance had gone quiet again, probably spooked by whatever Daniel told them. But there was one department that loved data more than Daniel ever could. Legal. Specifically, corporate legal security, the team that only appeared when lawsuits or government audits were on the horizon. I packaged everything. Nina's confession video, Daniel's emails, the IP logs, the honeypot access record, screenshots of the deleted Twitter account, and my correspondence with HR. I zipped it all up into one encrypted folder, labeled it Incident Leak Chain. Then I didn't email it. I hand-delivered it. I waited in the lobby until 7:50 a.m. when the senior corporate attorney, a woman named Janine Keller, walked in. She looked surprised to see me, probably thought I was still suspended. I handed her a sealed envelope and said quietly, "This isn't about my suspension. It's about felony data theft, and your name is in the CC line of one of the emails. You'll want to read this now." 2 hours later, my phone blew up. Calls from HR, compliance, my manager, even Daniel who texted, "Eli, we need to talk. Now." By lunchtime, Daniel's system access was revoked. Security escorted him out of the building. Within 24 hours, the company suspended multiple managers, 3 in total, and froze all contractor accounts. Nina disappeared that same day, but I knew she wouldn't get far. The lawyers had her face, her voice, and her voice memo admitting to everything. A week later, I was reinstated. Not just reinstated, cleared publicly. My department head made a formal announcement in front of everyone. "Mr. Miller's suspension was based on falsified evidence. He has our full apology and support." There was polite applause, but I barely heard it. I just stared at Daniel's empty desk. It took another month for the real hammer to drop. The company filed a criminal complaint against Daniel for wire fraud, conspiracy, and unauthorized data transmission. Nina was named as an accessory. Word got around that she'd tried to negotiate immunity in exchange for testifying. I didn't care. I had my job back, my name clean, and something better, the power to tell the story myself. But I wasn't done yet. See, when I printed that massive IP trace log months earlier, I kept a physical copy. I slid it into a plain manila folder and dropped it into a stack of files on Daniel's old desk before he was escorted out. On the top page, I wrote, "Some people can't handle success." The same words Nina had said to me that day in the hallway. I don't know if he ever saw it again, but I like to think he did. The company tried to keep things quiet, but the story leaked anyway, ironically, on the same kind of anonymous proof account that started it all. Screenshots of his arrest warrant, internal memos, and snippets of Nina's confessions spread fast. I never posted a thing. I didn't need to. I moved out of that building a month later. Left the key on the counter, last look at 4B's door, still sealed with a notice of property seizure. Her plants were dead, her blinds half open. When I walked away, it hit me that revenge isn't loud. It's patient. It waits, collects, and delivers itself with precision. And when it finally lands, it doesn't just burn the people who hurt you, it exposes who they really were the whole time. So yeah, I got my revenge. And when I printed the last line of the final report, I added one extra sentence to the bottom before handing it to legal. Next time someone tries to ruin me, they better pray I don't have Wi-Fi.